Keeping you up to date on Western Kentucky sports, you're in the Red Zone right here on Revolution 91.7.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Back at WKU for the WKU Red Zone. Billy Rutledge at Billy R Sports. Josh Holland at Not Joshin'.
The birthday boy.
The birthday boy.
Oh,
and
guys.
Fletcher at Fletch Shopper. But we have a birthday in studio before Fletcher shouted out. But Josh Holland turns, how old today?
Like 60, I think.
22.
God, please, when you go back and edit the show to put it up online, can you cut that out?
No, we're going to leave it in.
We're actually going to make one of those 10-hour loops.
And Fletcher,
just to be going 22.
You had an interesting little tidbit. We're saying that you can't sing Happy Birthday on air, the actual Happy Birthday that people are accustomed to.
Yeah, the Happy Birthday song, the da-da-da-da-da-da, that song is actually copyrighted by, I believe, I want to say, I have a laptop in front of me, but I'm not looking up because I'm lazy. I think it's by Random House. Not 100% sure.
My mom is getting so sued.
I'm almost positive it's Random House, and so they own the copyright to it, and so that's why restaurants and like camps that you might go to have their own birthday song, because if they sang Happy Birthday for every birthday that comes in, they'd have to pay a lot of money to whoever it is that owns that copyright.
Well, Josh, we'd all sing Happy Birthday to you, but I'm just trying not to get fined.
That's your mission over your next 2 years at the helm of Red Zone, is to come up with a Red Zone Happy Birthday song.
We'll have it.
Literally nothing else we want you to do.
Yeah. We're going to write it down.
The show can tank. It can go to 15 minutes a week as opposed to now. As long as you get that Happy Birthday song, it'll be worth it.
We're going to celebrate Josh's birthday now by talking more about the WKU baseball team, which I know he loves to talk about.
Josh's favorite sport.
Really? Josh, favorite sport is baseball?
See, baseball's weird because like if you don't live in a vicinity where you can go to a ton of major league wise ton of games, it's hard to be a huge baseball fan. So, and also when your team is terrible, but the Cubs,
not terrible.
Only a game back in the first place. Baseball, I really, really like it. It's different than a lot of other sports, but sometimes it drags on. I would say event wise, it's like number 3 for me. Watching on TV, it's like 4 or 5.
You know, Nick Dennis has a great atmosphere, and WKU baseball is going to have to do a lot better at Nick Dennis Field this season if they're going to want to get into the Conference USA regional tournament.
Well, they only have one more conference series, and that's to end the season against FAU.
At home,
At home.
At home, yeah. And they have to go to Marshall and then to conference leading Middle Tennessee, which, as if the Hilltoppers needed a more of a reason to get amped up for that series already with the baseball version, 90 Miles of Hate, and then coming back home to close out the year against FAU. Hopefully they'll still find themselves in the 8 spot. It's the top 8 teams in the standings that clinch their ticket into the double elimination tournament for the baseball tournament down in Hattiesburg. And FAU and MTSU, the 2 teams they have to go to before one of the teams they have to go to and then the team they close at home are the 1 and 2 spots in the standings right now. So that's going to be tough. Marshall's sitting at 10th, so whatever. But MTSU and FAU, they get them back-to-back, the 1 and 2 teams in the standings to close the year.
Yeah, Western Kentucky sits right now at 22-20. They're 9-12 in CUSA, 11-11 at home, and 10-6 on the road. It's been a much better road team before, and we saw that this weekend with the weekend sweep against Rice. But we talked to Myers this week, and he said he believes the team can go 6-3 on these weekend series. And he said it's a little rash, but he believes this team can do it.
Only a little.
And it seems like a 6-3 record right now is what WKU baseball is going to need to finish with that 8 spot, because it looks like it's going to be a difficult road ahead for them.
Yeah, FIU in conference play sits at 9-11, WKU at 9-12, Charlotte at 10-14, and even Marshall still hanging around currently at 8-13. All those, of course, the conference records. So it's really those 4 teams playing for the final 2 spots, and then if you want to go a little bit further up in the standings, UAB and Southern Miss are the 6-5 teams. The Eagles are at 10-10 and UAB's at 10-11, but that's a little too much. So really right now you're looking at about 4 teams fighting for those last 2 spots, and one of which WKU has to go to play.
It may help them as well, as they do have the 10-6 road record, and that road record kind of confuses me. It's 10-6 on the road, 11-11 at home.
That's 10 wins and 6 losses.
Right, Josh, but also 11-11 record at home.
You said you were confused.
It's just that confuses me, the part that a team is better on the road. I know that maybe the opponents may be a little bit difficult and such, but it just seems to me you would be better at the place that, you call home and your fans are watching.
Yeah, it's weird how sometimes teams can kind of develop a mentality that they're going to a different place and it's just them against the world. And a lot of times that helps you out. It's really weird how that works, but you come home, you get comfortable, the whole mantra in sports is that the opposite happens, right? You go out, you're uncomfortable on the road, you lose games, you come back, it's home, it's your own bed, you've got your fans. But it seems like this team has kind of flipped that. They go out and it's just them. There's no background, there's no, generally family, maybe girlfriends, whatever, schoolwork, whatever it is that they have to do at home during a weekend series. It's just go play baseball.
They could just focus on the game. And I remember.
And they've had some pretty tough home. I mean, if you include this Rice series, they've had some pretty tough home series. Ohio State, Rice, these teams that are not walkovers, and they've had some road swings. But what was Southern Miss was at home. That's a top 5 team in Conference USA. Rice is at home. They haven't played the toughest road stretches they're going to have in Conference USA. So I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're going
to be at home.
Right,
number 2 team in the conference right now.
So a lot of that is the fact that maybe their home schedule is a little bit tougher with non-conference teams coming in, and then you have, Ryan Church talked about it. If you take away that SIU sweep, they played awful at home. You take away that Southern Illinois sweep, then they're 8-11. I think a lot of that has to do with that mentality earlier, and some of it has to do with the fact that their home stretch is just tougher.
Yep. 8-11, not too far off of that 9-12 conference record as well. And I think it was right before they went off to South Carolina for the season opening tournament, and I think it was Ryan Church who said something about how he can't wait to get on the road and just be with the guys. And it seems like this is a team that really enjoys the camaraderie, and maybe here everyone's so busy outside of doing team things with, like Josh said, maybe families, maybe girlfriends, maybe schoolwork, that they don't really get to hang out as much as they might like away from the field. So when they're on the road, you really have no other choice. You're eating together, you're sleeping in the same hotels, you're traveling together all the time. Maybe this team plays better when they're with each other all the time and building that camaraderie to form the tighter friendship and brotherhood and teamship.
And on the road right now, they're winning 4-2 against Austin Peay, currently in the 4th inning. And I think that a lot of this, what they're going to do the rest of the season, is going to hinge on can they beat or sweep Marshall. Sweeping would help them a whole lot.
Yes.
But can they beat or sweep Marshall? Because if you look at the other teams that are close to them in the standings, let's say Florida International, for instance. International has UAB, who's a decently tough opponent.
The Hilltoppers dropped that series.
Right, but Old Dominion is at the bottom of the conference. So just those 2 series before they have to play Rice, FIU's road is a whole lot easier. If you look at a team in Charlotte, they play a top 15 team in Dallas Baptist this weekend, but conference-wise, they've got a tough Southern Miss, or next weekend, they've got a tough Southern Miss. They've got a series against a tough UTSA team. So can WKU take advantage of the team that is below them in the standings? Because for all the other teams outside of Florida International, they've got some tough series that they're probably going to struggle with, Southern Miss and UTSA for Charlotte. So can WKU take advantage of that one series where they should win, and can they sweep?
Yeah, and WKU baseball really does a good job of playing down to their competition and playing up to it, it seems like.
Yeah.
They go and beat Louisville 7-3, and then they get,
Well, we say that, and then I kind of take a step back and say, well, there are really no other instances in which that happens. They played Rice close, Rice is 16th in the nation, but they're still pretty much on the same level in terms of being conference opponents. If you think about it, they didn't really play Ohio State that tough. They didn't play last year they didn't play Georgia that tough. They lost a game like 26-5 at one point.
They won 2 games versus La Tech.
The point being is that I think it's a little different when you're playing one of the bigger schools in the state and you want to prove that you belong in the same state, and you might be little brother in terms of notoriety and popularity, but you can play on the same field with them and compete. And as WKU proved with both U of L and UK this year, whooped them pretty bad.
I don't think it has that much to do with playing up or down to competition. I think what it solely has to do with is sometimes WKU hits with runner in scoring position and sometimes they don't. And I don't think that really is consistently tied to who they're playing. I think that they had a midweek game against Murray State where they probably should have beat them 8-2, and it was a 4-3 game, I believe, or a 5-4 game, 1-run game, and games like that, it wasn't so much that they were like, oh, well, we shouldn't play with these guys. They had runners on base and just didn't get the final hit. It's so much about that last hit for WKU. Those 2 times with the bases loaded where against Rice on Friday night where you strike out and hit into 2 double plays, or different times in this season where, against Rice once again on Sunday, the last 4 innings runners in scoring position in a 1-run game. They're not playing poorly in that. They're just not getting the last hit they need. If they get the last hit in any one of those innings, then the game's tied. They just don't get that final hit. And I don't think that is tied to playing up or down to the competition, because if it was tied to playing up to the competition, they would have got the hit against Rice. If it was tied to playing down against the competition, then they wouldn't have gotten any of the hits against Murray State.
And that's what I'm saying. Is that I think those two, we look at those two wins against UK and Louisville and say, oh, they're playing up to their competition. It might more be state pride and wanting to beat Big Brother, so to speak.
Well, that may be what you're saying, but I'm right.
I didn't say you were wrong.
I'm just kidding.
Sibling brother rivalry here on the Red Zone. Josh, Holland, Fletcher Keel.
And
They've
now
been
we're
here a
holding
while.
hands.
No, we are not.
And this is one of their last shows here, guys. It's going to get a little sentimental here on the last show next week, but WKU baseball team 9-12 in Conference USA. Myers wants them to go 6-3 on the weekend series.
I think the only way that's realistic is if they sweep Marshall.
Yep.
Only way.
And then they sweep Marshall, win one of the series, lose one of the series 2-1. But they cannot, if they want to keep in that top 8, they cannot get swept either at home against Florida Atlantic or on the road this weekend. They don't have the opportunity to get swept again. They did this past weekend. That needs to be out of their system. They can lose a series. They can even lose 2 series if they can sweep Marshall. But they cannot get swept. There could be plenty of things happen if you lose 2 series 1-2 and then sweep Marshall. That's 5 wins in the last 9 games. You can work with that. But if you get swept,
you would need help, but yes, you could. Especially with FIU playing Old Dominion later in the schedule, that'll have to go your way. A whole bunch of things have to happen, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah, they stole the Topps baseball logo, which is kind of funny. Jeremy Brown wasn't happy about it though.
Baseball team's got a tough road ahead of them. We're gonna hit the softball spotlight before we get to our second break of the show, and that today is none other than Miranda Kramer.
Who else would it be? Name another softball player.
The Western Kentucky softball team is Miranda Kramer.
Is Presley Cruz still on the softball team, or did she graduate?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. There are some. It's the same in some sports where you think someone's there for like 8 years, and Presley Cruz is like that. You think she's always been here, but then you're like, oh well, it's because she's been here as long as I've been here following the team, so I don't know anything else. But boy, is Miranda Kramer impressive, or as our friend Will Puckett likes to call her, Amanda Kramer.
Well,
every time we write a script for Extra Point, it says Amanda Kramer. I have to pull him aside and say, Will, buddy, what's her name?
Well, she did it again this week. She tossed 4 complete games, notched her second no-hitter of the season.
Also went 2 for 2.
Right, and had an 18 strikeout performance and set the new Conference USA single game strikeout record. What is this? What is something that she can't do? It seems like she is destined for the USA softball national team right now.
That would be sweet. Yeah, the 6th overall pick by the Pennsylvania Rebellion in National Pro Fast Pitch, the professional softball league. And the one thing that she needs to do is learn how to hit, because her offense isn't doing it for her if she has the stat line she had this weekend and is still only going 2-2.
Yeah, I think it was something. It was over 50 innings pitched, 39 strike. The strikeouts to
like 2.5
innings pitched.
an inning.
It's ridiculous.
Insane.
And there
She
was
leads
a couple
the nation
times,
in that, doesn't she?
Yeah, strikeouts per 7, she leads the nation. And it just is consistently coming down to an error in the 9th inning or an error in the 7th inning, or today it was a home run. So that's a little bit on the pitching staff, but it's more than a little bit on the pitching staff. But it's just consistently coming down to an error that allows someone on base and then maybe a hit that drives them home.
See, I don't believe that, because if your offense is giving you enough run support, it doesn't come down to that. You don't have to be perfect in the field if you have a 3-run cushion to work with.
Buddy, I'm not saying that the onus is on the defense. I'm saying that what it has come down to in multiple games is that, not that the overarching theme of who needs to do better.
Okay.
It's just saying that in 2 games, the last thing that has happened is an error that allowed a run to score.
And I'm just saying it shouldn't have to be that.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that is exactly what has happened.
WKU softball team's defense ranks 14th actually in the nation with a .975 fielding percentage. So
wow.
Kramer getting a little backup from their defense.
A rough couple
A couple instances. That stat does not speak to 2 of these losses, because it's just been a couple of instances that happened late in the game. An error in the 5th inning, they win those games.
Yep.
But it's just been
not an error in the bottom of the 9th inning in Lexington when you're only supposed to play 7. 7 is regulation softball. You go and you play a baseball game and your offense isn't able to score, and you can only be perfect for so long, and unfortunately it was an error that cost the Lady Tops a victory against the Cats.
Well, the softball team playing Louisville right now. We'll get you a score update when we come back from our second break of the WKU Red Zone. Again, if you have a question, tweet us at WKU Red Zone. We got Jeff on the Twitter right now, and he will get your question up.
Jeff is on the Twitter.
The Twitter.
.com.
And we will answer it for you at WKU Red Zone. We'll be right back here on Revolution 91.7.